One by one, the maidens succumbed to its effects. Their senses dulled and their inhibitions lowered as they fell under the king's spell. And in the days and weeks that followed, whispers began to spread throughout the kingdom of the maidens who had mysteriously fallen pregnant after visiting the king's palace. Once upon a time, in a kingdom nestled amidst the sprawling savannas of Africa, there lived a king whose name was whispered in the awe and reverence by all who knew him. King Oba was his name, and he was known far and wide for his immense size, his belly round and robust like the mighty baobab trees that dotted the landscape. But despite his imposing stature, King Oba was not feared by his subjects. No, he was beloved throughout the land for his gentle spirit and kind heart. He ruled his kingdom with wisdom and compassion, earning the respect and admiration of all who dwelled within his realm. Now, King Oba had ruled his kingdom for many years, but there was one thing that eluded him: companionship. You see, despite his wealth and power, King Oba was a lonely man, his vast palace echoing with the emptiness of solitude. And so, one day, as he sat upon his throne of gold and ivory, King Oba devised a plan to fill the void in his heart. He issued a decree throughout the land, summoning maidens from far and wide to his palace to partake in a grand feast and celebration. Words of the king's decree spread like wildfire, and soon maidens from every corner of the kingdom were flocking to the palace, their hearts aflutter with excitement at the prospect of catching the eyes of the king. As the appointed day arrived and the maidens gathered in the palace courtyard, King Oba surveyed the scene before him with a twinkle in his eyes. He was like a cat among pigeons, his appetite for companionship matched only by his vivacious appetite for food and drinks. And so, as the feast commenced and the festivity reached a crescendo, King Oba entertained his guests with lavish banquets and sumptuous feasts. The palace was alive with the sound of music, laughter, and merrymaking as the maidens danced and reveled in the king's presence. But little did they know that lurking beneath the surface of their host's jovial facade lay a dark, sinister motive. For you see, King Oba had devised a cunning plan to fulfill his desire for companionship, a plan that would forever alter the course of his kingdom's history. Unknown to the maidens, King Oba had made a magic potion aimed with the power to ensure that every maiden who partook of it would bear his children. And so, as the night wore on and the revelry reached its peak, King Oba discreetly spiked the drinks of his unsuspecting guests with the enchanted potion. One by one, the maidens succumbed to its effects. Their senses dulled and their inhibitions lowered as they fell under the king's spell. And in the days and weeks that followed, whispers began to spread throughout the kingdom of the maidens who had mysteriously fallen pregnant after visiting the king's palace. Rumors swirled like dust devils on the savannah, casting a shadow of doubt and suspicion over Oba's once pristine reputation. But despite the whispers and accusations that threatened to tear the kingdom apart, King Oba remained steadfast in his conviction that he had done no wrong. To him, The maidens who bore his children were not victims of deception, but willing participants in a grand and noble endeavor to populate his kingdom with heirs to the throne. And so, as the years passed and the children of King Oba's many union grew and flourished within the walls of his palace, the king remained ever vigilant in his quest for companionship and legacy. For in the heart of the fat king beat the unyielding desire to leave behind a dynasty that would stand the test of time, a legacy that would endure long after he had passed into legend. And though the tale of King Oba and his maiden may be shrouded in controversy and mystery, one thing remained certain: his legacy would live on, etched into the annals of history for all eternity. As time passed, King Oba's kingdom flourished with the presence of his many children. The palace halls echoed with the laughter of princes and princesses, each one a testament of the king's desire for companionship and legacy. But while the kingdom prospered, whispers of the king's action continued to circulate among the people. Some praised King Oba for his foresight in securing the future of his kingdom, while others condemned him for his deceitful methods. Amidst the controversy, King Oba remained steadfast in his beliefs, convinced that he had acted in the best interest of his kingdom. He lavished love and attention upon his children, raising them to be wise and compassionate rulers in their own right. Yet, despite his outward display of affection, there was a sadness that lingered in King Oba's heart, for deep down he knew that his quest for companionship had come at a great cost, tarnishing his once untarnished reputation and casting a shadow over his legacy. But as the years went by and King Oba grew older, he came to realize that true companionship could not be bought with potions or secured through deception. It was found in the bonds of friendship, the warmth of family, and the love of those who stood by his side through thick and thin. And so, in the twilight of his reign, King Oba devoted himself to repairing the damages that had been done and rebuilding the trust of his people. He worked tirelessly to ensure that his kingdom remained a beacon of hope and prosperity for generations to come, leaving behind a legacy that would be remembered long after he was gone.